Hey everyone, it is Tuesday, August 4th, 2020, and you are listening to the MC Gamescast. I am one of your hosts, Mitchell Barrett, and joining me as usual is Charlie Zarzuela. Charlie, what's going on, my friend?
Everything's going on right now. Happy 70th birthday to Whataburger, and happy Nolan Ryan owning Robin Ventura Day. Oh man, I can't believe it's Tuesday already. We got so much to talk about today. I'm so excited.
Yeah, man. Sorry about that. I had some audio issues over here.
No worries.
Yeah, so it is August 4th, episode 2. How's your week been, my man? What do you been up to?
Boy, being a father, we had splash day over the weekend. We bought this splash pad for my kid, and it was fun. Gosh, he does not like to take naps. He gets really cranky,
No.
and
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to I don't know. He just turned 4, and I'm looking forward to the day where, we can reach this weird parental child symbiosis. I guess that's happens a lot later on in life, right?
Right, absolutely. So I've had a week. I've
Yep.
definitely had a week. There goes my son.
He is.
So
Here he is.
oh God, what was this? Thursday morning, about 2:30 in the morning, I woke up sweating.
Oh yeah.
It was quite hot, and my tummy was not feeling good. And the reason why that is because the Pizza Hut that I ordered the night before.
You're not sponsored by Pizza Hut.
I will not be, and I will be not asking for a sponsorship to Pizza Hut because I got food poisoning. And that's not fun. Holy shit. It's been
Literally.
yeah. You know what? To be honest though, it was more the other way, like coming out the
Devilish.
front.
Oh.
Yeah, it was there. There were points early in that morning where I was in so much pain and feeling bad. I thought I might have to wake the kids up and go to the emergency room. It was real tough. But I made it through, and I'm doing okay.
Soldier on.
I soldiered on. But yeah, other than
As
that.
one would.
Yeah, other than that, I had a good weekend and had a good week, and it's month-end close at my day job, and,
Oh,
it's,
yes. I'm very aware of this.
I know, yeah, Charlie and I, in our real lives, actually work for the same company, so we both feel the month-end grind around the same time. But unless you've got anything life-related, anything else, Charlie, we can go ahead and get this thing started.
No, we got to talk video games.
Excellent. So
we got a lot today.
We do have a lot. The one game in particular we'll save to the end because both you and I have played it. But Charlie, why don't you go ahead and get started and tell me what else besides that one game you've been playing?
Well, I'm just gonna kind of rehash a couple things from last week. I'm still playing Retro Bowl. That game is still really good. I suffered what the 18-1 Patriots suffered. I was so mad I wanted to throw my phone across the screen. I made it all the way to the Retro Super Bowl. And my dumb F of a kicker missed an extra point, which could have just clinched the game.
Oh, no.
I lost, and of all teams, I lost to Buffalo.
Of course you did. So you got buffaloed.
I got Don Beebe'd right in the butt. I could not believe it, and I got so mad, and I was like, okay, that's fine. It's my first season, whatever. My next team was even better. Like, I was literally 5-star across everything, and again, I've still yet to win a Retro Bowl, so that's where I'm at with that game. As the viewers and listeners of this show know, I've been playing a lot of Cuphead.
Yeah,
that game is hard. That game is awesome. I really enjoy it. I hope that the viewers who come to twitch.tv/Charizard81, viewers now and viewers in the future will enjoy it because it is a fun ride. I've actually started expanding my wares to other Twitch streamers, not really to study them, but just to understand the game. I'm trying not to spoil the game for myself. I've noticed that, for myself, a boss may be like stupid hard. However, for another Twitch streamer, this person might be really, really easy. And I just found that really, really, really interesting, considering that, I've literally just banged my head against this one dragon, and I'm talking to this random Twitch streamer, and he's like, "Oh, that guy was simple," and I'm staring at him trying to tackle this genie, and he's not having it, and I just found that very very intriguing. Like every player's experience is held in a vacuum, and that no experience is equally the same. I again endorse this game. It's from 2017, released last week on PlayStation. Finally. And I know that a lot of the people on PlayStation are going no holds barred with that thing.
Yeah, and I've been watching, and I know some people here. Actually, I know everybody here in the chat has also been watching. That game has become my favorite game to watch. Like it's like it's obviously not on the same level as you guys.
Thank you.
As you guys playing it, but the ebbs and flows, I feel like, for me especially, I feel those ebbs and flows too when you get real close, because watching you play it and seeing what the track looks like when you do die, how far you've gotten, you start to get a feel for how far you're getting into a boss. And when you get right there and you die, like, it feels disappointing to me, and I feel like to everybody. And Josh is trying his best to really throw me off in the chat.
Hey, brother.
And
Stop it.
and when you do finally beat it, like I told you after that last week, I'm fist pumping and going, yeah, like really into it, like even as much as you are. And it's so pretty, and it sounds so good. The music is so good, and yeah, I love watching you. I'm not gonna play that game. I know what that game is, but it's so much fun to watch. It's so much fun watching you just bang and bang and bang and bang your head at it. And then when you break through, like, I feel like I break through too, like watching it. It's so cool.
And you know what? And that it's funny you say that. I feel that on my end, because I know that there's a lot of frustration with watching a person play a game like this. You in your mind are telling that person, okay, you need to dash this way, and like, why? I actually reviewed a couple of the chats while I was putting together highlights, and I totally missed that. You had mentioned that you're not using your supers enough, and when you're in the middle of it and you're in the thick of things,
Sure.
you're just kind of just reacting. And when you're reviewing things, you're like, oh, why didn't I move this way? And like, oh, why did I jump there? And you're second guessing yourself on the fly, and that's what honestly causes all these mishaps. And when you're watching a person plug away at this one boss for an hour and 10 minutes, that dragon took me an hour and 10 minutes to overcome, and boy, that cathartic feeling just when you see knockout slam on the screen, and I'm sorry, I just can't help it, I have to yell.
Well, yeah, and then when you're real close and you get the you died, it's just like, oh god, oh. And well, in the just the
sucks the air out of you.
You talk about how you wonder with us watching if there comes a point where we're just like we're bored, or it's hard, it gets to the point where it's hard to watch. I don't think that's the case, because I think once you start watching, like, I know what that game is, so I know the ebbs and flows of the game, but people that don't necessarily know about that game, I know Ryan has kind of talked about this a little bit with us, where you get the idea very quickly that this game is a beast, and you have to plug away at it. You have to learn what the bosses are doing. You have to learn what these, the platforming levels are doing. And you start, I think you get that realization of, okay, you become part of being on the edge with the player. And I don't think unless you're just a kind of person that gets bored real easily with just anything. You don't. I don't think
Not
people
with this
get.
game.
You don't get that. I just don't think you get that feeling. I think you get right there on the edge with them, and then once you feel the stress lifted off of even us watching when you finally get that knockout. That game is it is so fantastic.
You know, like hearing you guys say that and hearing you say that actually makes me really, really glad I picked this game for my first like Twitch streaming game, because there were several on the docket, but I had never touched this game before. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let's dive in. That's why I named it Diving Cuphead First into Twitch streaming. So that's Cuphead.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Another game that I've been playing on my plethora of time that I have on my hands with a 4-year-old boy. It's an old game. I want to say it was from 2018. I don't know why it's not here in my notes. It's called Oxenfree. These are guys from the ex-Telltale guys. They obviously had broken up. So this is a choice-based narrative game. A game that pays a great homage to the teenage horror thriller. I've played several scary games, but usually these are on console. I've played a couple on PC. I've never been sutured into a game like Oxenfree that was solely on my iPhone. This game is, it got, several awards. It got several praise.
By the way, 2016, early 2016.
Oh, okay, yeah, 2016.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, thank you. It's it's on iOS. You can play, I believe, the first part of it for free, just to get a taste of how everything is. So it's set basically, they're 4 teenagers. They're your stereotypical tropes of teenagers, but they're not. You learn through dialogue, you learn through their interaction with each other that these characters have an enriching backstory that endears you to them. But in the end, it is on that level a teen thriller movie / game. But that's not a bad thing. So there are choices. You get to pick, there are situations where you get to pick who you want to save. Obviously, a game. I keep calling it a movie. This game lends itself to, there's going to be situations of peril. You're going to have to pick who you want to save. Conversation pieces, much akin to Mass Effect, KOTOR, things that you say. They don't really placate themselves to, how things shape out too much, but they do fill the world. And I really, really admire this game for the fact of how well the system is, because usually when you have that, you're going to have this weird, abrupt, this character A has to finish this sentence first. And it's this abrupt, contextual change of tone where character B responds to it, but it doesn't flow right. In this game, it just does. Like, even when you are picking a choice of in the conversation, there are moments where you can cut off the other person, which is, you may miss something if you act too quickly. And just like in everyday world, when you're talking to me and I interject you, who knows where that conversation could have went,
right,
or could have gone.
Yeah.
Versus if I had let you finish and then I respond in kind. The mood's great, just to sum it up, the mood's great. There were literal jump scares where I was sitting there, my phone, I'm on a phone and I'm having jump scares.
Wow.
Because there are supernatural happenings. I'm all about, so it's very innovative in that, so the supernatural being or the supernatural things that are occurring are speaking in a medium of recordings. Okay. So you're getting pieces of dialogue in which it's broken. It's kind of like a ransom letter. It's kind of like a verbal ransom letter where it's a kid saying one piece of the sentence, and then all of a sudden it's an adult, and all of a sudden it's a woman, and all of a sudden it's a child, and it's just broken up in a very, very staggered way that makes it extremely awkward and extremely haunting.
That sounds fascinating.
I stumbled upon it, and
it's got a really cool look too.
I'm looking forward to finishing it. I think I'm halfway through the setting. I mean, the island itself is a character onto its own. Yeah, it's $5. So
that's good. Yeah, I know it's on. I believe it's on everything as well.
Yeah, it's on everything.
Yeah, I think you can phone, PC, all the consoles.
Yeah,
that's cool. What else you got? Anything else?
One last thing. I'm trying not to take too much time.
No, go ahead. We got time.
I played Lore. Yeah. Boy, I don't know what we have to talk about later. We may not have too much time, but last but not least, I'll say I played a little Lara Croft Go.
Oh hell yeah!
That game is great. Won a lot of awards in 2015 for best mobile handheld game. It does what Hitman Go does, but on another level.
Hitman Go is so good. Hitman Go
is very, very good.
Awesome.
Lara Croft Go takes it another level up.
Okay, perfect.
The set pieces look less of a chessboard like Hitman Go does. It takes that and then immerses it into three-dimensional settings where, Hitman Go is very angular. This one, it's a lot like Pitfall, where you have multiple levels. You need certain items or certain parts of the level to fall in order to achieve your goal. And the puzzles are great. Like, the puzzles are not, obviously they're easy at the beginning to help you, tutorialize yourself into the gameplay, but it can be very daunting and very, very challenging. It's a great game. The design is really, really great. And that's only $5 also.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's what I really like Hitman Go a lot. And that sounds pretty cool. That's good that they did another one of those styles, but also didn't just be like, here's Hitman Go 2. Like, it's good that they tried something else and did it to what it sounds to be a pretty successful place. As for me, so I got back into Fortnite. I had taken myself and a friend of ours, Mean Green, who's probably in the chat. Hi, Ryan. We took a long break from Fortnite, and we came back to it, and we are kind of all back into it. It's the new map is really fun. It's interesting. It's a lot different, and we always liked kind of the Fortnite shooting and just kind of the aesthetic and everything like that. Like, we're not builders. Like, I can build okay, I guess, but yeah,
I saw you guys building those stairs. That was pretty rad.
Yeah, like, I could build stairs. If I got to get up to the top of a building.
I've never played. I played it like in that little snippet. So
yeah, last night you played a little bit. Yep. You should keep going. Like, it's what for, with it being free, and a lot of these battle royales are, like, it's worth just giving it a shot, and if you don't like it, you get rid of it. But yeah, I'm kind of all back into that game. I also got way back into Super Mario Maker 2. I streamed that on twitch.tv/Team Llama Squad. But you know that. You're here. Twitch.tv/Charizard81. Yeah, and so I played some levels. I tried playing my levels. Wow. I made some fucking hard-ass levels, man. I couldn't even beat my own levels.
How long was it ago that you made those levels, though?
I mean, right at the launch of it last year. So it came out in June of last year. So probably it's probably been a year.
So a significant amount of time between.
Yeah. Like,
when you touch those things.
and you know, a lot has changed in that game. They added some new stuff to it. They didn't add Super Mario Brothers 2 the tile set, but they added some Super Mario 2 stuff, like being able to pick up enemies and stuff off the ground and throw it. And then on Saturday, I had people in my chat help me make a level. You saw a little bit of that.
Yeah,
it turned out fine. I mean, it was not the hardest level, but that's fine. It was okay. Like, it was a lot of fun. That game is cool. I missed out on the original Super Mario Maker. You got to do that, and you've kind of missed out on 2. Funny enough.
Yeah.
But that game is. I will say this. I have made levels only in tablet mode. Up until what we did the other day, which I had to use a controller on a screen. That sucks. It's just not intuitive.
That's what I've heard.
It's not. It's really difficult to do. The buttons aren't great. But yeah, that game is really fun. And then last Friday, we had myself and Nico Bambi. We did our 1v1 Rocket League tournament. It was a best of 7 series, first to 4, and we had some gift subs on the line. Nick is better at Rocket League than I am. He's played a lot longer than I have. You want to talk about the category? What's the game you've put the most hours in? I bet you I know his answer. But he swept me. But I will say this: those games were really good. Like they were all 1-goal games. They were real nail biters. We had an overtime game. Actually, the clincher was an overtime game. I had a couple real dumb moments that I want back a lot. But man, that was a lot of fun doing that.
Nick had to stop and get resuscitated.
Man, it's amazing when you are doing a competition. Nick in the chat says 6,000 plus hours. Yeah, that's probably the game you've played the most.
Wow.
But it's amazing when you play a game competitively, how much that gets your heart racing and the nerves. Like, we had $15 on the line. That's it. That's how much I paid for those gift subs that I had to give.
Well, sure.
Which, congratulations, you received one of them. But the nerves, it was weird. Yeah, like at one point, it seemed like Nick was going into cardiac arrest, and like I had nervous moments where it did affect the way I was playing, and it was so much fun. Like it was such a blast, and I know that the people that watched, including you, had a blast too. Like that seemed like a really fun thing for all that were involved. I would just like to reiterate that if I want to cuss on my stream, I'm allowed to, Charlie. You leave me alone.
It was just a Marvel 8.
But yeah.
Age of Ultron callback.
But yeah, it was.
Language.
I know, but it was a ton of fun. Now I will say that 1v1 Rocket League is the worst mode, and that mode sucks. I don't want to ever play 1v1 ever again. It sucks. It's no fun.
Well, that first one was on I called it the hockey rink because you had the goal pretty much, on the 10-yard line rather than backed up, flush against the wall.
Oh,
so
God,
the ball was going behind the goal.
That God, that feel.
I mean,
that feel.
It throws a monkey wrench in things and makes strategies different. Because I even noticed that Nick was saying, "Oh, that's wide," and or "Oh, that's going in," but it went wide and
right. Yeah,
stuff like that.
It's very that kind of that's the first time I've ever played a field like that where the goal is forward. Nick told us that night. He just reminded me in chat that that's actually an homage to the original. It's not called Rocket League. It's I forget what the name is. It's some real bad name. It's like Rocket Battle Card
Soccer
Brigade or something. Nick, if you know the answer, you can put it in chat.
Rigs.
Yeah, over the road racing. Yeah, like it's a bad mode, but Rocket League still and we'll talk about Rocket League when we compare it to our final game here. Rocket League continues to just be that game is fun. Like you played with us last week too. Like it's just a blast.
At that game, but it's fun.
Yeah, Nick said listen to this name. Supersonic Rocket Power Battle Cars. And that game,
oh my God.
I never played it, but apparently that game is utter garbage. Like it's a terrible game. And then they went and made Rocket League, which you can say aside from maybe Fortnite is the biggest surprise and biggest game of the last 5 years. Like Rocket League is so huge, still huge. Like they started the new season on the Rocket League Championship Series, which I watched.
Guys, I know you want to go with SRPBC, but
yeah,
how about this name?
Yeah, Rocket League, right?
I don't know, man.
It's a sequel, so we got to put a 2 at the end of it. I started watching the qualifiers for the series championship stuff, and again, like watching that stuff, it's like watching a different game. Those people just do things that I just can't comprehend. It's amazing. Rocket League is fantastic, but none of that matters. None of those games matter. None of your Cuphead doesn't matter. Oxenfree doesn't matter. Fortnite doesn't matter. None of that matters because, ladies and gentlemen, the game of the year has potentially released today, and that game is called Fall Guys. Okay, so you
have the floor, sir.
We're gonna try to explain this. So, Fall Guys is basically Takashi's Castle, Wipeout, all those style of TV shows, but it's a video game. And the look of it looks very much in the physics of the game are very much along the same lines of Gang Beast, Totally Reliable Delivery Service, Human Fall Flat, which is a fantastic game and you should play. You would love it. But kind of that kind of physicsy, like it's
the color of Super Monkey Ball.
It looks, yeah, it kind of looks like Monkey Ball. The controls feel good, but they're a little wonky. Like when you run, he runs kind of wonky. But so basically, what it is that there are up to 60 players that begin each match, and the first game is usually just go from point A to point B. There's obstacles you have to jump on, different spaces, or you have to avoid things, and then about the first third are knocked out, and then it's just this either team games or other single player games to basically knock down the group of players to about 10, and then there's a final game that one game is that you have to get to the top and grab the crown first. There's another one where it's you're at the top of this big tall platform, and each of the little platforms will disappear as you touch them, and you just have to be the last one standing by the time you get to the very bottom. And it is such a blast. It's so much fun. It's the games repeat. It's a brand new game, but the games are fun enough to where even when you see them again, it's still a lot of fun. Like some of the games are real simple. Oh, you just got to jump over this thing over and over again and hope you're one of the last ones standing. And then some of them get as complicated as, oh, you're a team of 5 and you're on a soccer field and you got to try to roll this ball into the goal. And if your team wins, you move on. Your 5 move on. And if you lose, you're out. I got my first victory today on stream. And it was badass. It was so much fun. And
it was awesome.
And the music reminds me of Splatoon. The music is just so goofy. It's in that Splatoon, just weird, kind of all over the place. It looks fantastic. It runs okay. I mean, it's and that they had issues today. They came out on PC, and they came out on PlayStation 4. On PlayStation 4, it is a PlayStation Plus game. So everybody that has PlayStation Plus could get that game. Everybody downloaded that game.
For free.
With the service. Free, whatever. You have the service, you get it.
Yeah.
The developer is a very small developer. It's their first big game. They were not ready for it. They've had issues today. and the backlash that we've seen on Steam with the review brigade and the Twitter response, fucking get over it, people. Video games are fucking hard, and especially when you're a small developer, they didn't anticipate it to be this damn big. I understand, like, so in like we were talking in pre-show, like I don't even get mad when, like, say a Call of Duty or a big game that happens to them. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes you're not ready. You don't know what it's going to be like when you flip the switch. It looks like they've kind of started fixing it and adding more servers and kind of getting that set, and it looks like it's kind of up and running the way it's supposed to be. But it's so good. It's so fun. I can't wait. I can't wait to play it again. I want to, depending on what time we finish tonight, I may play some games before I go to bed. Like, I cannot wait to play this again.
Come on, let's go.
And I also can't wait to see what they continue to add to this thing in terms of costumes and looks. And then also, they're going to add new games. They're going to continue to add to this thing. They do a battle pass, kind of like all the Battle Royale games and some video games. It's free this month or this season. I assume that at some point it's going to be like all Battle Royales. You pay your $10 for it. You usually earn enough over the course of the year or the season to where it can kind of move over into the next one and all that stuff. It's just fantastic. What did you think in your kind of real quick look at the game, Charlie?
Boy, real quick. Excuse me. Also, I mean, you've literally taken all the words out of my mouth. That game it's fun. It's pleasant to look at. Mm-hmm. It is the antithesis of something like Bloodborne. It is bright.
Yeah.
Like you said, the controls are a little wonky because it's that type of game, you know? Yeah. Like, this is not a type of game where the characters, you know, leap tall buildings with a single bound. You know, they're not all Superman. They're these little doughboys that are just trying to make their way from start to finish.
They just want to be famous on the show.
Yeah. And they're all, you know, there's a mass of 60 of them on a very, very, very small track, very restricted pathway sometimes. And hilarity ensues when they're all bumping into each other. The visceral hate that was thrown out there on Twitter for this game and the delays. I get that if you've paid for a game, you know, $60, what's going to be $70, and you're not able to play it. I understand that it warrants a little bit of negativity just because, you know, you've paid your money for this. I understand. But there is a point where, you know, it's like you said, games are hard. These are hardworking people that they are trying to do us a service, to provide us entertainment for a very, very, you know, manageable fee.
Right.
And patience should be encouraged sometimes, especially when something that literally came out of the blue. We didn't know about this until a couple of days ago.
Saturday. That's when I found out about this game.
That this game existed. And the fact that it has the ceiling or the capacity or potential to break through a ceiling that is as large as even, you know, I'm going to call it something as big as Fortnite. You know, it has that growth potential because the threshold for entry is very, very minimum. The skill level required is, listen, just go.
Yeah, that's the big
dive. You may have to grab a player or two, but that's it. And then just laugh. That's all this game needs. And sometimes, you know, there's the complexities of Warzone, you know, changing out your, you know, strategies, battle tactics, etc. You know, all these role-playing games, sometimes you have to pull back and draw back into something that's just very, very, you know, easy. Yeah. Very, very basic. And the fun is the result. It's not the fun is both the result and it's also the journey and it's also the beginning. You have, you know, these little doughboy characters that you can, you know, customize to your own whimsy with these lovable looking avatar, you know, helmets, and you can make them look like food, of course. Mine's already a pineapple.
I made mine look like a pigeon.
Yeah.
He's an adorable little pigeon.
and that's fun. And so you have that at the beginning, and then obviously the courses lend itself to, you get whipped around by these random rods and fans, and it's not, something that's, rated M for mature. There's no blood or anything. It's almost like you had a race with your stuffed animals, and all of a sudden you just decide to whip one off your bed, and it's funny. And
Yeah, and
just whole avalanche of them doing it is even funnier.
well, the thing that I've already kind of started thinking about in terms of comparisons in obviously the games are not comparable, but the way they were released and the way that it appears, the way that Fall Guys is looking in terms of its trajectory, this is very much Rocket League, in that you have this game that released on PlayStation Plus for quote free, that anybody could download and play. And then when people have started to play it and they've seen it, much like Rocket League, you're like, oh shit, this is actually also a very good game. And I think the difference between Rocket League and this, though, is that with Rocket League, you know how to hit the accelerator, you can go chase the ball, you can hit the ball. But to go beyond that, you have to work really hard at it. Tracking, coming off the wall, aerials, and even to just get to that next level. That very little next step is very difficult. The Fall Guys, there's a simplicity to the game to where there are 3 buttons. You have your directions, but you have 3 buttons. You have a jump, you have a dive, and you have a grab. That's it. That's all there's going to be, and all it is about one, first and foremost, luck. It's a lot of luck.
I was about to say that.
And that's fine. But I'm not in the way of it being lucky, like it's like over the top luck where it's just like, okay, this game's all about luck. Like, no, like it's just a part of it, the luck. And it's just that kind of precision platforming on a lot of the stuff. Like anybody, it's not like Fortnite or any of these battle royales where there are a ton of people that will never win a match of a battle royale. They just never will. They're not good enough. They're not going to. Exactly. The ones that I have won, I've been playing battle royales for a long time. I think I've got 10 total over all of the battle royales. It's just those games are very difficult to win. Like this, it's not easy, but everybody's going to be able to get their win. Like people are going to get to it's going to happen because you're going to hit that right combination of games that you're good at, and you're going to hit that right combination of luck along with of quote, this is the run, and it's just it's very. And I think another thing that's going to make it successful is that I think it's going to be also very kid friendly. I think a lot of kids are going to really like playing that game. It's super simple. Like it's a fantastic game. I'm going to play the shit out of this game. I streamed it today, and streaming off a PS4 sucks. It sucks. The PS4 sucks for streaming. But I'm going to keep doing it because that game is so good. I love that game so much. And I've played 2.5 hours of it. It's just It's fantastic. Anything else in what we've played, Charlie? Got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right then.
On what I've played so far.
Then it's time, ladies and gentlemen.
Tell me about Fall Guys.
Let's talk about Fall Guys again. No, it's actually time. We have ended the games that we have played. It's time, everybody, for the news. All right, folks, it's time for the news, and it's a very, very light news week. I'll go ahead and get it started this week. Little bit more news on Halo Infinite. It was rumored and then eventually confirmed that the Halo Infinite multiplayer will actually be free to play at launch. You don't have to buy Halo Infinite. All of the multiplayer will be free to play. Microsoft confirmed that, and they also confirmed that on the Series X, it's going to run at 120 frames per second. That's really it. I mean, look, that's cool. That's cool, and I think as we're looking at multiplayer games in general, you're starting to see that a lot, where multiplayers are now coming out for free. You've got Warzone with Call of Duty, and last year they did it with, 2 years ago they did that with Black Ops, with Blackout. You're starting to see these games really push their free-to-play stuff with battle passes and things like that. So that's kind of cool. That's neat that they're doing that. Again, I don't know if I'll play that game, but it's there.
120 frames per second. I don't know. Maybe I have a decent rig, but everything looks really, really great. I don't see the leap from 60 to 120.
I've played some games where I'm at like 90 to 100 frames, and anything above 60 looks weird to me. It just looks odd. It's too fluid. But I'd be interested to see. I would be very, and also you got to have a pretty expensive monitor or television to run it at 120 frames per second, which is way above my pay grade. So that's it for that. Charlie, what you got?
So Splinter Cell, apparently it's getting an anime adaptation on Netflix, very akin to the Castlevania series. God, I have got to watch that. I've told myself I'm going to watch that, but time. So apparently Ubisoft and Netflix are partnering up to develop the Splinter Cell anime with the John Wick creator, Derek Kolstad. So he's gonna be the writer and executive producer. And they confirmed this with Kotaku. Yeah. I didn't play much Splinter Cell, so I'm sure the Cellites are like going crazy to see something like this.
So here's the thing. Here's the reason why I put this into the news, and the reason for that is this is just the Cellulites. Yeah, this is an example, another example of Ubisoft doing something with Splinter Cell that's not a new Splinter Cell game. People have been calling for a new Splinter Cell game for a long time. I'm not a Splinter Cell guy; it's fine, but people really have wanted a new one. And all they have really done with Sam Fisher, the main character from Splinter Cell, is put him in other games, and now a TV series. So they keep doing these things with Splinter Cell that are not new Splinter Cell games. I don't know what Ubisoft is doing. It's very odd. I don't know. Again, I don't care about Splinter Cell enough to be that up in arms about it. This sounds interesting just because of the John Wick creator angle, and
those movies are so good.
Like you were talking about with Castlevania, like they've been doing some really good, like just in general, the animated stuff has been really good lately, and we're finding, which we've actually got a question later in the mailbag that's good, that's kind of related, but it seems like what they're doing with these adaptations of video games is starting to get better.
Oh yeah.
So I who knows? We'll see what happens. And again, they've signed them on to do it. It doesn't mean that it's ever going to come out. We don't know. It may never come out.
Sure.
Who knows? Let's move on. And we're gonna bring it back to sports. 2K Games announced the other day that they're bringing football back, and they can't, but they can't have the NFL license because EA has the exclusive rights to that. But they are allowed to strike deals with players, with names, numbers, and likenesses with the Players Association, and that is what 2K Games has done. They have struck a deal with the NFL Players Association to have the names and numbers and the likenesses in their upcoming football games. Now, as I said, the teams, the logos, etc., the NFL shield, everything like that, that can't be used because that's part of the EA Sports exclusive deal. So you'll be able to play as Tom Brady and Dak Prescott and any of the NFL players that you want to, but you're going to be playing for the Dallas Wranglers.
The Renegades. It seems like it's always the Renegades.
So it's good that they have got that, because if they had just done like the Blitz, the league thing, or like the All Pro Football that 2K did, where they didn't have any actual players or anything, it was just going to fail like the rest of them. So that's interesting. Who knows when that stuff's going to come out?
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I customize my crib?
I mean, it's 2K, so maybe. But also because it's 2K.
That was so a great part of the 2K5 game.
2K also recently has done a really poor job with their microtransactions, especially in the NBA 2K series. I really hope that doesn't come to this. That would be bad.
Sure.
Charlie, what you got?
Well, looks like I got the last two news stories here. Again, a light week. And it's a light week when the Battletoads release date has been set. August 20th. That's it.
Yeah, look.
Xbox One, PC, Xbox and PC Game Pass and Windows Store. Yep, I don't feel like it's finally coming out.
I don't feel like this is breaking news, because I think that a lot of people agree with this. Battletoads was a bad game. It's a bad game. It's inferior to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in every possible way. It's too difficult. It's a bad game. It just is. I don't think it's that difficulty of, I mean, it's kind of in the same difficulty level as like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles.
That
Well, that's when video games were hard, remember?
Yeah, but
they wanted to call that 1-800 number to get the tips. Or I'm sorry, 1-900 number.
There comes a level of difficulty where it's just cruel and it's not fun. And Battletoads is one of those games.
Sure.
People are excited about it. That's cool. I mean, I don't know. It's one of those series where I never understood why people wanted it back, but that's fine.
Is it like Duke Nukem when that came back? It's on a different track, obviously, because Duke Nukem Forever literally took forever to come back. And then when it came back, the joke was that it took forever for the developers, the multiple developers, to finally, push that sucker out to gold. But, Battletoads is kind of something that was, you saw it it was an Easter egg in Ready Player One. There were forms of it in random games. Obviously there were mentions of like you said, it's a very bad game, or like this is one of the NES classic games that was just like so hard. Like, where was the hardest games that ever played? You always saw it on those like top 10 difficult lists of games that, you played and you really, really never wished you played because it was just that damn hard. And now that it's here, the excitement is just that, where you can just hear the fan in your PC going, and you're like, okay, maybe we're just not in that circle of fans for this game.
I mean, maybe, but
I feel that circle might be small.
Well, that's the thing, is that when they originally announced that was whatever it was, I think it was last E3 when they announced it, the 2019 E3, the last E3 that we've ever had.
The last E3.
That I feel like it was one of those things where, we always talk about making jokes for one or two people. I feel like that's what it was. It was that, oh, you guys made that for those like 4 people over there, didn't you? That's cool, I guess. All right, who knows? Maybe it'll be good. I don't know. I mean, it's going to be on Game Pass, so I guess I don't have a reason to not try it aside from just not liking it.
There you go. But yeah, so anyway, Battletoads, Release date August 20th.
Okay, that's
pretty
cool.
much everything.
All right, let's get to this last story.
The last story,
because this will have a little bit of an expanded discussion too.
Looks like Spider-Man's going to be a PlayStation exclusive character for Marvel's Adventures. Marvel's Avengers.
Yes. Come on, Marvel
Crystal
guy.
Dynamics' Jeff Adams revealed today that Spider-Man is pretty much going to be available as a free update for PlayStation players for this September's game. Yeah.
So
PC players and Xbox One players will not get him.
So yeah, that leads us.
And that's because Spider-Man is owned by Sony.
Yes, and I get that, and good for Sony. I think this kind of leads to a bigger topic. That yes, I understand that. Okay, Microsoft makes a game, they put it out on their own console. Sony makes their own game, they put it on their own console. But when you're talking about third-party games, exclusives suck. They just do, because exclusives are not as big as they used to be. It used to be like during the PS2 era, exclusives were such a big thing, and I think in a day and age where it feels like the civil war between consoles is starting to kind of go away, like people aren't, I'm Sony, and no, I'm Microsoft, that kind of thing.
The fanboys.
Like, everybody's got their preferred console. I mean, you're a Sony. You play mostly on console. You play more on Sony. I play more on Xbox, and that's fine. I love my PS4. I don't play it near as much as Xbox. That's where my friends are and things like that. But this idea that we're still doing exclusive stuff is just weird to me. Like I get because Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man in some way these days. I kind of get that in a way, but also that's kind of shitty. Like Spider-Man is an Avenger. That's bullshit. That you're going to be like, "Oh, well, you better get it on PlayStation." I think that's sorry. And maybe it is one of those things where maybe that is, a get off my lawn style of argument. But, it's kind of like what we talk about with crossplay and things like that. Aren't video games better when just everybody can play them? Everybody can play with anybody no matter what they own. I feel like we had started to kind of get to that point, but we're still doing this exclusive stuff. I don't know. I don't like it.
I agree with you. I mean, I completely agree with you. This reminds me of, do you remember when Soul Calibur came out with all their versions of their game?
Right.
And it was like, if you owned, gosh, what was it? The Xbox version, you had Yoda, and if you owned,
that was weird.
The PlayStation version, you had Spawn, and it was
Nintendo, it was Link.
Yeah, and so wow,
at least in that situation, people got something everywhere. You may not have gotten the specific characters. Obviously, Nintendo's not going to give Link to Xbox or whoever, but also there were so it's not like, oh, okay, so you get Sony gets Spider-Man, but Xbox gets Deadpool or whatever. Sure. It's none of that. It's just because if they do ever put Deadpool in Avengers, everybody will get it, including Sony. There's not gonna be this exclusive thing. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like anything these days that kind of to me it sucks that Fall Guys is only on PS4. I mean, I'm sure eventually it's going to be on Xbox, but that kind of sucks. I would love that pool to be way bigger, especially when crossplay comes.
Cuphead, man.
Yeah, Cuphead. Well, so that's different because Microsoft at the time owned
sure.
But that's the thing, is that eventually it came out to everything, even though Microsoft owns it. That's the weirdest thing. So that's you're never going to see God of War on Xbox. That's not happening.
Oh gosh.
And whatever Microsoft makes.
But that's what
days.
I'm saying. By all rights, they own Spider-Man regarding any media that's external of the comic book.
Yeah,
and so,
I suppose.
Obviously Sony can do that with, that character. And, they're obviously trying to like allow people to gravitate more toward, the PlayStation, purchasing the PlayStation copy versus the Xbox copy. So, I don't like it. I understand the business behind it, but it doesn't mean I like it.
Also,
and, and I also feel though too, like you said, with this convergence of crossplay between consoles, I love the fact that we're going through that, but sometimes companies have to do, their due diligence in regards to like how can we maximize our money, especially in times like this.
And I said at the beginning, this is great for Sony, and it's great for any company that gets those exclusives, but it's bad for gaming when that happens.
Oh yeah, sure.
So, that it. I'll just say this. I'm worried about that game. I don't. It hasn't shown. It hasn't shown well. And
you know me, like.
Oh no, I get it. And that game is still.
I agree with you. Like, it hasn't wowed me.
Like every time they show, like the characters don't the characters don't have to look like the movie characters, but they don't look right. Like Thor looks weird. I don't like the way Thor looks. Like I don't know. There's something and there's something about the gameplay that just seems, again, it's early. A lot of that's pre-alpha stuff and alpha stuff.
Yeah. And
they've got plenty of time. I don't think that game's this year, right? Is it this year? It may be later.
That was in September.
Yeah, maybe. So, and maybe I'll be wrong, but there's something just doesn't quite look right.
Sure.
So anyway, so that is the news of the week. New releases this week. We already talked about Fall Guys. That's out today on PC and the PlayStation Store, PlayStation Plus. That Call of Duty Warzone Season 5 is out tomorrow. And normally we wouldn't care about that, except I've gotten way into Call of Duty Warzone. The biggest change it appears for that map is that they're going to finally open the stadium. The stadium there, it's a big giant dome stadium, and you could only go around the stadium. You can never go inside of it, and that was always odd that you had this big, basically solid stadium that you couldn't get in, but apparently they're going to blow the roof off of it and you can go inside the stadium. So that's neat.
That's cool.
Call of Duty Warzone is great. I especially like Plunder. Got another W today with Nick. That's fun. Let's see here. We've got that Horizon Zero Dawn PC edition is out on Friday. So that's cool. That's cool that the Sony's been real bad about bringing. Actually, they've been very quiet on bringing their games to PC. So it's nice to see them start to do that. Hopefully, that means they'll continue to do that. Maybe we'll see God of War on there someday. Charlie, you can talk more to these. Hellbound.
Yeah, I mean, Hellbound. It's very akin to like the 1990s first-person shooter, like Doom, like the hit Devil Daggers from a few years ago. Very, very fast-paced action. It's not the crispest looking animation, but it's all about the action and it's all about the play style. It's all about fast movement. So that's what Hellbound is. It's coming out on the PC. Drink More Glurp is coming out. It's coming out on the Switch and PC. It's a QWOP game if you've ever played QWOP.
Oh yeah, QWOP.
This game is for
QWOP.
you. It's these aliens who are coming down and they have no clue what the Olympics are, and so, it's this multiplayer game where you learn to teach these aliens how to perform these Olympic trials in the QWOP design.
God, QWOP is QWOP's the worst, but it's also the best.
Don't forget the horse game.
Oh yeah, Clop, yeah. And by the way, Hellbound is PC only. That's out today. And yes. Drink More Glurp is Switch and PC, and that is Thursday. The last one. So Fast and Furious is coming out this year. Not the movie, but that Fast and Furious Crossroads game is out on Friday, that game's gonna suck. I'm just gonna tell you, it's gonna suck. That's on Xbox One, PS4, and PC, by the way.
It's a movie turned game.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember the last movie turned game.
Well,
I think that's one of the questions.
Yeah, save it for the mailbag. That game looks bad. Like not even like. Look, I don't like Fast and Furious, but also that game just looks bad. It just looks like a movie tie-in that was supposed to probably come out when the movie came out, but thanks COVID.
R.I.P.D. the game.
Oh boy, that movie's already shit. So let's make an even shittier game. Yeah, that's terrible. So that's the news, and now it's time for the topic of the show. It is part 2 of our gaming survey. We're doing a Games of Our Lives survey. We are in the middle portion of that. We're doing 6 more questions today, just to catch you guys up if you missed it last week. The ones that you may have missed. We did Game That We Hate. Charlie selected Mass Effect 3. I selected Final Fantasy 13. Next was our overrated gamer series. Charlie selected Final Fantasy 7 as most overrated, and I 100% agree. And mine was the Mario Party series, because fuck Mario Party. The game that completely disappointed us, Charlie's was Dead Space 3, and mine was Fallout 4. And it pains me to say that, and I know how much it pains you to say Dead Space 3. The number 4 was game that you don't enjoy playing, but you love watching being played. It's Charlie was basically fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom, the new Street Fighter, Dragon Ball, Fighter Z. And for me, it was anything related to the Soul series, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Sekiro. The 5th question was first game that you remember playing. Charlie's was Wizardry, and mine was Space Invaders. And finally, underrated gamer series. Charlie's underrated was the Lego games, and mine was Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. And so, our first category today, Charlie, is the game that or series, but probably game is more likely for this one. The game that surprised you the most. Why don't you go ahead and kickstart this question, Charlie?
So the game that surprised me the most is Metal Gear Solid.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it was all about fighting games. It was all about platformers with very, very simple stories. It was all about playing Madden, all about playing NBA Jam. When this game came out, it did something that I've never seen a game to. I actually heard that there was this Metal Gear game on the NES. Never really was interested. I always saw in the aisle at Blockbuster. It looked cool, but I just kind of gravitated toward other things. Mike Tyson, Tecmo Super Bowl, Super Mario 3.
Hell yeah!
But this game, it really never snared me.
Mm-hmm.
Metal Gear Solid. It was so. I still remember when I purchased this sucker. I was in a Target, and there was this case. It was just this white case that had Metal Gear Solid on it. And I had heard a few murmurs about this game being revolutionary. This is the game that, the game above all games, on the PS1. So I got it, and like any Metal Gear Solid, immediately died.
Yeah.
And this game, it teaches you, and it's an experience that no other game delivered to me.
Mm-hmm.
There were areas where you could strategize, and the point of ingress was from multiple angles. You can either go in guns a-blazing, or you can go in stealthily, which, to be honest, I think this was probably the first true stealth game that I played. I think GoldenEye came out before this, but I never played that game stealthily. This game, though, being the nature that it was, it blew me away. And that was just the gameplay side, obviously with the PlayStation specs. it could only do so much, but it did a lot with what that engine could do, in that kind of quasi three-dimensional polygonal form.
And say what you want about, you could say this about any of the Metal Gear. Say what you want about the story being convoluted and not understanding it, and Hideo Kojima can be very just he can overwrite like a motherfucker. Sure. Cinema in games really took off with that game. You could say a little bit about Final Fantasy VII with the cinematics and in the way that it looked, but with dialogue and the way that it was presented, it was really something that hadn't really been seen. And obviously that continued with 2, 3, 4, and 5 and all that. Sure. The games obviously got better as it went along. Because, honestly, if you go back to Metal Gear Solid now, that's a hard... It's like any first game of a series. It's kind of difficult to play. Especially, like, I'll tell you what. Play Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain, and then go play the original Metal Gear Solid. It will be unplayable. But you're right in that nobody had ever heard of Metal Gear, even back with those NES versions were bad. The NEC versions were better, but nobody thought, they were just like, oh, it's these kind of stealthy action 8-bit games. And then all of a sudden here comes Metal Gear Solid and like the trailers. Like you and I have talked about the Metal Gear Solid 2 trailers and just how...
Oh gosh. I still get tingles when I hear the soundtrack for that thing.
Oh god, this soundtrack. And the soundtrack in this game is fantastic too, the first one. Yeah, Metal Gear Solid, like as a game itself and a series. Again, say what you want about those individual games and whether you like, especially those early games, whether you like them or not. Gaming would be way worse without them, because it's just just the like Hideo Kojima is a fucking madman. He's trust me, I've played Death Stranding. That guy's is insane. Death Stranding is a good game.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm with you on that, because it was kind of surprising in the... Not because it was like, oh, I didn't think I'd like this game. It was just kind of like, oh, holy shit, this game.
Yeah.
And
no, this game, it channels a different catalog of emotions that other games do not prior to it, obviously. There have been newer games that have been a lot more cathartic, but this game was the first time I had actually played a game where I felt something more than just guttural rage over losing or sheer victory over defeating my opponent. This was a book that I enjoyed reading, or a movie that I enraptured myself with and could play over and over. And it surprised me, but I mean, literally, like, I was on the edge of my seat, watching these cinematics, and be it what is it may, the PS1 doesn't really have that great of graphics.
Oh yeah,
it was at that time.
It's an ugly.
You were just like, what
game.
is this thing doing to me?
and again, say what you want about Kojima and the way he writes dialogue and characters. You fucking remember those characters. You remember Solid Snake. You remember Otacon. Psycho Mantis. He had
that entire thing is a whole discussion.
He had a boss fight where you had to unplug your PlayStation controller and put it in the second PlayStation controller port.
Mm-hmm.
He had a puzzle that you couldn't solve unless you looked at the back of the box.
It was completely broke fourth wall, which blew my brain.
It's so great. Yeah, it's fantastic. I love that answer so much. For mine, unless you got more on Metal Gear, I can talk Metal Gear. I will talk. I will talk Metal Gear.
I don't want to take too much time because we got a lot.
We may have to do a Metal Gear topic of the show. We may need to write that down because I have a lot to say about Metal Gear.
There's a lot.
There's that episode where maybe we can get Dan on once we get bigger.
That would be awesome.
Okay, So the game that surprised me, mine is a little different from yours in that it's not something that surprised me like, oh, this is out. I didn't know about it. No, this one surprised me because I just didn't think that it would grab me the way that that it did, and that is Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley is if you want to wean it down to something simple, it is a farming simulator, but it's much more than that. It is a 16-bit looking game where you are a young adult who is working in some cubicle. And then your grandfather passes away and he gives you his farm. And so you go to do that. So you go to this little town called Stardew Valley. And so you plant crops, based on the seasons, you go and you collect materials, but it's a lot more than that. You have relationships with the people in your town. There are kind of RPG and dungeon crawler elements when you go into the caves. There is in kind of Animal Crossing fashion, you find collectibles, you dig for things, you go fishing, you have special days, like the birthdays of the people in the town, and like specific months and seasons have, it's wintertime, here comes Christmas, things like that. And on paper, that sounded neat. But it was like, I bet you I'll get bored of this kind of quickly. Like, I'll kind of do a couple of the seasons of planting, and then I'll move on. And after listening to Giant Bomb talk about it, I was like, all right, I'm going to give this a shot. It's cheap. It's $15, whatever it was. And it grabbed me like very few games have grabbed me before. I have learned that I really like games that are quiet, kind of takes down your stress level, it's like a calming game. And this is what Stardew Valley is. The music is fucking incredible, to the point that I have listened to the soundtrack on Spotify many times. That I will put that on while I'm working. It's so good.
Nice.
And it has a great look. It's funny, it's silly. And I fell for it so hard, and I bet you I put 80 hours into it. I'm not even finished with it. I plan to go. I've bought two versions of it. I bought the PC version and I bought the Switch version. The Switch version is excellent too. It's such a good version of that. I love.
Question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I put not a significant amount of time, but a decent amount of time playing Harvest Moon when that came out for the NES, and I think the N64 also.
Yeah.
How does this differentiate itself?
So
how does this
go
from I'm not B+ to like A+?
I'm not too familiar with Harvest Moon aside from just kind of the basics of Harvest Moon.
Sure.
I think one, if you like Harvest Moon, you're probably going to like this. I think it also takes that style of gameplay kind of into the modern age with kind of the different things that it does with the controls, of course. And just the inventory upkeep is a lot better probably than those games were. Okay. And I would imagine that it also is expanded a lot more. I don't know if there's any kind of like dungeon crawler type stuff in those games or not. But it
is literally almost a farming sim.
Yeah, so I would say that in Stardew Valley, the farming simulator stuff is about 35% of the game.
Oh, okay.
The rest of it is your relationships with the townsfolk, figuring out ways to kind of expand the town to go to different areas, different caves, going into the caves and getting down to the bottom of those caves. So I would say it's a much more expanded.
That's kind of cool.
It's so much fun. It feel like there are games that use the art style of 16-bit kind of Super Nintendo and the music where it only kind of feels like those games. Okay. This one is one of those where when you play it, you're like, this literally feels like it could have been released in 1993. Like it feels like you're playing a Super Nintendo game, but it feels modern in a way to where it it gives it that feel of both those feels instead of like, oh, it's just doing this to do this.
Oh, okay.
Like you play like a game like Shovel Knight, which is a fantastic game, but Shovel Knight, like you get to the end of it and you're like, that doesn't feel like an NES game. It feels like a game from 2016 that's trying to be an NES game.
Oh, okay.
To decent
so
results.
All the actions and all the set pieces are pretty deliberate.
Yes, and
just filler.
Yeah, exactly. So I love it. I think it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite games of this generation. It's probably it probably would make my top 20 all time. It's so much fun. Awesome. I bet you could find it on sale for $5 on PC. It's great. It's fantastic. They added co-op multiplayer to it. So that's neat.
How do you play multiplayer on that?
I mean, you just go into a friend's town and you just help them farm and go through the caves and shit. So anyway, let's move on. I could talk about Stardew Valley all day. So next, and I'll start on this one. It's the game that made you fall in love in games. It's not necessarily your favorite game of all time, but it's a game that you remember probably as a kid playing that made you just all of a sudden you became a gamer. You became a guy that just that's your thing is playing video games. In mine, from the Nintendo Entertainment System, Mega Man 2. It's been mentioned a couple times in the chat, and I'm going to mention it again. I rented this game from Blockbuster back in the day. And so I had played Super Mario Brothers by then, and all those Atari games that that we kind of talked about last week. But this is the game that was like, holy shit, video games are fucking amazing. I love video games just because it was the because with Super Mario Brothers is an incredible game, and it still is. It's still one of the best games ever made. But it's kind of a one-trick pony. You do your platforming, you face Bowser 8 times, and you win. Well, obviously in Mega Man, you've got 8 different robot masters. You have different paths you could take to defeat those. They all have strengths and weaknesses, and you have to plan your path. And then once you get through that, then you make your trek to Dr. Wily, and it looks fantastic. It still looks good even today. The music, oh god, I almost pulled the intro music to play on the podcast. That's how much I downloaded that song to play on Rocksmith. That's how much I love Mega Man music. I love Mega Man so much. Maybe it overstayed its welcome when they made 45,000 of them, but Mega Man 2, and it's funny because they've made, I think they're up to 10 or 11 Mega Mans, like main series Mega Mans. Mega Man 2 is still the best one.
Count the X series?
I count that's separate. I count that as a separate series, but I'm talking the OG numbered series. They've made, I think,
probably Game Boy games. I know that.
Yeah, they're Game Boy ones. The Game Boy games are actually not bad, but Mega Man 2 to me still stands above the rest in the actual Robot Masters, the gameplay. It's a fantastic game.
Is that available anywhere?
Oh yeah, you can. Oh well,
get on the Switch store.
So they put out that Legacy Collection a couple years ago that has all the 1 through 6, which is a very, very good collection, by the way. They play great. And back when Nintendo did the store, you could get them. I don't think they put it on the Switch yet. I mean, you can get the Legacy Collection on Switch. I love Mega Man. That's the game that made me really get into video games. How about you, Charlie?
Oh, I agree with you on the same level regarding Super Mario Brothers. That is a great game. I remember that was the first game that I ever played on the NES that I got for Christmas. Was it my birthday? I had Super Mario Brothers wrote in on my notes. But when I had to think about it, game that made me fall in love with games was Super Mario World. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. It took all the great bits from the Super Mario games. I never owned Super Mario 3. I was only able to play that at friend's house.
Same for me too.
When I got the Super NES, I remember like when that sucker came out, and I can't even remember how much pleading I had to do with my my mother and my father to get the SNES, I think, in the first year. But I remember opening that thing, and I could still remember the smell of that system when you open it out of that,
Oh yeah,
foam package, and reading that manual of this new 16-bit world that was presented in front of me.
By the way, R.I.P. R.I.P. Box art, R.I.P. manuals.
Yeah, pretty much. But this game I put a lot into. Just, it could easily have made my list for games that I've played the most. But this game, I remember so many fond memories, that not just me playing it, but my brother playing it with me. He's in the chat. It was the funnest times that we ever had playing that thing. Mm-hmm. I would be Mario, he would be Luigi. We would, quasi team up to conquer these ridiculously imaginative worlds that they created.
Oh yeah.
Again, all we had was Super Mario 2 really to like look back fondly upon before,
Yeah, and that game's way different from Mario.
Yeah. Again, Super Mario 3, to be honest, I put more time into that when it had become part of the Super Mario All-Stars cartridge.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But Super Mario World, when, we plowed our way through the different types of worlds in it and had so much. I mean, I remember my brother would wake me up on Saturdays just to like, bang my head and say, hey, let's play Super Nintendo. And I'm like, okay. And we would always end up playing that game. And, obviously we had our fights.
Sure.
As every sibling does. But, it was a game that we found this weird commonality with, and we shared so many great times with. And I mean, it made me fall in love with games, because now when I play video games, I know that he's probably doing the same thing. I mean, obviously now that we are doing separate games, he's gone more into the first person shooter games, and he has his own YouTube channel, which I'm very, very proud of him. I don't know if he does that anymore or not, but I've gone in to a different avenue. But knowing that he and myself have that same hobby, that same interest, it does more to me for my brothership than just games in general.
Sure, and
that's why I fell in love with video games.
I agree with that 100%, because I did the same thing with my brother. Like we played that game so much. This game's gonna come up again later, for sure. But
I suspect as much.
Yeah, but it seriously is and to be honest, if Mega Man 2 wasn't my game, World may have been this category for me too. It's just it's such.
We made the agreement that you can only use it once.
Yes,
well, there might be an exception. Yeah, I know there might be an exception.
There could be. I'm just saying you might hear it again. But yeah, Mario World is just fantastic.
For sure.
Why don't we move on? And Charlie, you're going to go first on this one. This is the game that you can play over and over and over and over again. What's your go-to game?
Boy, if I had beaten Cuphead, no, I'm not. Just kidding. If you don't play this game, you are a bleeping idiot.
Okay.
Because this game is awesome.
Saints Row the Third.
That game is great too. No, it is 2016's arguably game of the year. It is Hitman.
Oh yeah.
That game. So obviously the Hitman series had come a long way from, it's PC gaming way back in the day. But when this, I mean, I think it was on PlayStation as well. Um, those consoles, I'm trying to remember, but when this sucker came out, I mean, okay, you know me, I'm a Doom guy.
Yeah.
I love Doom. I was a day one Doom. I sent you my screenshot because I wasn't sure
I remember that.
I wasn't even going to buy that. And
That's
literally
right.
the night of, I was like, check this out. And I showed him the screenshot of my Steam purchase. At the time, I didn't have console.
Wasn't that the
But
first one that you ever bought and preloaded? Wasn't that the first one that you ever preloaded? Not pre, not pre-ordered, but actually preloaded.
Either that one or Arkham Knight. I can't remember.
Oh, okay, sure.
It might have been Arkham Knight, but that was the one I literally like bought the night of, and I was like, okay, let's just preload this thing, and I'm gonna see if I can go to sleep and wake up 2 hours later. But Hitman, so that game came out that year. It was going to be a seasonal game, and I loved the idea of Hitman games before. I never really played them. I always watched my buddy play the games, and I just never was like, again, I wasn't a stealthy person until I really glued myself into a game like Metal Gear Solid. But this game lends itself to the fact that it is so diverse in the ways of achieving your goal, and there are multiple goals. And you're basically an assassin, and you're given targets, and you're given a scenario and a setting, a map, and they just say, hey, go. And you can kill a man with a tomato can.
You sure can.
You can dress up as the butler and finagle your way into the mistress's house, poison the drink that she's going to drink, dress up as her love interest, who basically she's cheating on her husband with, hide in the shadows and poison her without anybody knowing.
Don't forget the greatness of Helmut Kruger.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could dress up as a runway model and walk the runway, which is actually one of the little mini achievements to, up your skills levels in the game. You can smuggle in weaponry at various points of the map in order to achieve your gains. And the maps are so big, so diverse, so complex that, I mean, and they're so, like, they're all over the world. These these places that you wish you could visit, Spain, Italy, Japan, South Africa, stuff like that. I think there's one in the Middle East as well, Bangladesh or something like that. But it lends itself to just the playability of this thing. You just want to, if you want to get in and get out, you can. Right. You can literally turn it on, play. I'm not sure if they do events anymore for Hitman. I was
gonna
come out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that they don't do those anymore. But the daily runs,
yes,
in that game, that was it was. The thing that strikes me about Hitman, I should preface this by saying I haven't really played a lot of Hitman, and I hate that that's the case, because I love. You want to talk about a game that I don't play, but I love watching people play. The thing that really strikes me about it is that the old Hitman games were less about free form, than it is now. You can do these tasks in any order, with any weapon, with any costume, any way that you want to. The ability to improvise is so well done in this game, and I need to play Hitman. I should just play Hitman. Like it could easily be on my answer for the later question about a regret, but the it's such a fascinating game, and especially coming off with that 2016 Hitman, that was coming off that series basically being dead. It was dead after those last few, like it didn't have a publisher, and it was like they're never, and then all of a sudden at E3 whatever it was 2015 or whatever, all of a sudden it's like, oh hey, Square Enix bought Eidos.
Eidos, yeah, that's what it was.
And they're making a Hitman game, and everyone's like, "What, really? Okay." And it's gonna be episodic, and everyone's like, "Okay, whatever." And then it's the game of the year for like half of the media. It's incredible, and it's such, the replayability of that game seems through the roof, especially back then.
Yeah, and the sequel is equally as good. The maps there are about as complex, and the missions are about as complicated or as easy as you make them, because it's like you said, you can do whatever you want to do in that game because you're a super spy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a fantastic choice. I love that answer a lot. My game
what game can you play over and over again, Mitch?
Well, Charlie, it's funny you just talked about it. Super Mario World.
All right.
I, on an almost yearly basis, will do a 120 level completion, 100% of Super Mario World, and the reason why is because it's to even. I mean that game is almost 30 years old. It's 28 years old this year. It still is just so good. It breaks through time, in a way that, I mean, there are a lot of games, especially from that era, that don't hold up. They just don't. The Super Mario series in general holds up very well. Zelda holds up very well. Mega Man holds up very well. But once you get past that, NES and Super NES games in general don't hold up for the most part. And this one does. It just stands the test of time. And like you were talking about with the variety, not only do you have the variety of the different worlds, you have the variety within the levels. You have multiple exits. You have multiple ways to be. In some levels, more than 2 ways to finish a level. All of the secrets, the Star World, just the special world, Cowabunga, Mondo.
Oh man!
It's just in. The first
tubular,
yeah. The first time that I ever 100%ed that game was probably about 5 years ago. Like I said, I would play and beat that game almost every year since 1992, 1991. I think it actually was when it came out. But I finally 100%ed that game, 5 years ago, and it's still one of my greatest accomplishments in gaming. It's so good, and it feels so good today, and it still holds up. Like it's in a masterclass of its own. It's the best Super Nintendo game, and it was one of the first. It's still the best Super Nintendo game. I love that game. I can play that game any day. Talking about it, I'm probably gonna play that game soon, and I'm probably gonna stream it. Right nice. Here on twitch.tv/Team Mama Squad. Anyway, so that's the game I could play over and over again. I mean,
my reasons for it. I'm totally behind you there.
And again, your reasons are also mine too. I mean, it's the first game that my brother and I really played together, because my brother is 5 years younger than me, so the original Mario Brothers, he was too young. But he was 5 years old by the time we got our Super Nintendo. The Super Nintendo we bought came with Super Mario World, Mario All-Stars, and Mario Kart. 3 of the best Super Nintendo games.
Super buy.
Oh, the best. Anyway, so that's that one. We may or may not come back to it later. So the next one, and I'll start on this one. It's the game that you wish you weren't such a wussy that you would play. And mine is kind of a cop-out, but it's 100% true. Pretty much any horror game. It's like if I had to pick one, for me, probably Silent Hill, because I played Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2 was the PlayStation 2 one, right?
Yes. No.
Yeah, it was.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think
know
it was.
Silent Hill 3 was.
It was the PlayStation. It was a PlayStation 2 one. It's the one where you start out in the forest and then you go into the city and it's foggy and then that.
Yes.
And then that weird.
Oh yes.
I booted up Silent Hill 2 and I got to the town and I saw the first creature that had the elbows locked in doing this thing, and I never played a horror game after that. And I'm not a scary, and it's not necessarily because I'm like, ooh, I'm a scaredy cat. I don't like stressful games. I don't like games that give me.
Let me tell you about Cuphead.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I was telling you about the 1v1 Rocket League tournament. Like the stress was almost too much. And I just, I like chilling out when I play games for the most part. And once it reaches a level of stress or tension, and that's the thing, like Silent Hill is less of a jump scary game, and it's more about tension. Like Resident Evil has always been about, oh, that dog jumped through the fucking window again, and man, Nemesis sure is big and gross, and he sure did come through that door. Yeah,
that was good.
Yeah, and I would love to. I again, that's another one that I really like watching people play, like the late Resident Evil 2, the remake.
Coming soon to Charizard 81.
Dude, I will watch. Like I think that's cool because I can pull myself away and not have that tension, and I can watch that stuff. Like the jump scares are fun, but I just like horror games also, and it's changed a little bit recently. Most of those old horror games play like shit. Resident Evil plays
the
old
tank controls.
Tank controls are shitty. Ugh. They're awful. They're just awful.
I agree with you there.
Anybody that likes those controls is a madman, and they probably need to be committed. So basically, it's a little bit of a cop out, but horror games, yeah, I can't.
Oh, not at all.
I can't do them. What you got?
It'd be weird if you were going to say like, you know what, I'm just so wussy that I just couldn't never play NBA Jam Tournament Edition.
I know, it's just something really pansy,
or
I can't play Fall Guys. It's too scary.
Or Tubin.
Hey, real quick. Okay, you mentioned Tubin. I have to do this. I'm sorry, I have to do this. So back in the day when Tubin was a thing on arcades. So back when I would go visit my dad in San Antonio, he would put us in this summer camp, and every day during the summer camp we would go to the Seguin wave pool. It was the attraction of the town, was this shitty ass wave pool that was about 70% piss. It was awful. They had a tubing machine. Here was the problem, and this is a problem for all arcade machines that are at pools. Water.
Okay.
So you would play tubing, and if there was too much water on the cabinet or under the cabinet, you would get fucking electrocuted by tubing. But Tubin was such a great game. You were like, I don't care. I don't want to go in the pee water. I'm gonna play Tubin. Anyway, I'm sorry. You mentioned Tubin, and I had to get that out. Okay, tell me what's your wussy game?
Is it ironic that you would rather play the video game of Tubin than go into the water?
With a tube, yeah.
That's how bad the water quality was there.
Yeah, it's god, that Seguin wave pool. It's still there, by the way.
So okay, obviously this question lends itself to pretty much like horrific games. When this game was previewed, I was scared shitless, and I remember I like sent the email to you, and I was like, hey, and I put in the subject going, Outlast, have you seen this? And you were like, nope, never, nope, not ever gonna play this ever. That game, so obviously it's not really highly rated or highly touted out there as like, the one of the greatest games of all time. Da, 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 da. But I remember when there were a whole bunch of media outlets that had set up, cameras and reactionary um, video shots of their staff playing this game. And basically, they would set them in the dark, which was, I'm like, okay, let's just set the mood right there. And then the protagonist is a journalist who, all right, that's one notch, who is armed with I'm sorry, he's not armed at all. He has a camcorder, with a battery that has very little to no life. So you've already like cut off, any type of visual there. That's already scaring the crap out of me. And then you're breaking into an asylum, a sane asylum. And so that's, number 3. I wish we had a bell. You could just start counting the ways. And boy, I still remember watching the previews for this thing, and I kept telling myself, I'm going to play this one day. And every time I looked at that sucker in the PlayStation store or in the Steam store or anything, I would just look at it. I'm like, what else can I buy here instead of this?
What else is on sale this week?
How many more copies of Batman can I buy? Or, and it's, gosh, I mean, I try to tell myself that I can, like, I think we have a friend that, he plays scary games all the time, and he's just like, whatever. Like, I'm trying to remember.
Reset what you're talking about. Chat's wondering.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm talking about the game Outlast.
Yeah, Outlast.
Yeah, so when that game came out, I thought, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to play this. And I saw way too many video reactions of people. I tried to watch a walkthrough of it, and I couldn't do it because it's just that intense. And the jump scares are gnarly. You have a huge bulking guy who is constantly chasing you, very Nemesis-like, but not, supernatural, like he's a zombie. No, he's a fucking crazy person who's just trying to rip you in half. And again, you're not armed. There's no type of weapon system in the game. It's just you run, you hide. There's a sense of claustrophobia in the game that normally I'm cool with, but this one, it can be very unsettling. The lights going off are just, that's another sense of uneasiness to the game. There's a lot of fucked up stuff in this game, and I mean, there are other games that lend itself to like being a lot more gory, a lot more horrific, but the fact that a place like this could, like, I guess it could possibly be set in like a real world setting. Like, it's very much like a movie that I've watched. Nothing too specific, but it's just, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, and you're better than I am. At least you play some of that stuff. Yeah, there are definitely games, kind of like what you're saying. There are games where you see the trailer and you're like, there's no way in hell that I will ever be able. Not oh, this game looks bad, I'll never play it. But this game looks like something I don't think I can ever bring myself to put that. For me, that's every horror game. But I know what you're talking about. It's man.
And I was gonna, and like my original answer, literally, like as you were talking, I was thinking about it a little more harder, analyzing what you were saying about just any horror game in general. And I was trying to like pull like, okay, is this my real answer? My original answer was Resident Evil 7.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact, again, that can take place in the real world. I did the awesome.
Yeah. And you know what? There's something about first person horror.
No, exactly.
No.
You're sutured yourself into that character. And, just a little story before we move on. I remember, my girlfriend, now wife, she had gone to bed. I had decided to stay up one night, and there was a little movie called Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was like, let me watch this thing because I've never really ever seen this. I watched it, and I never went to bed that night. Like It was just like no. And the fact that Resident Evil 7 is very, very, like, the storyline is very, very akin to that thing. Oh, dude. Like, I've seen screenshots of that sucker, and I think I would, if you put me in a, either or situation, I think I would play Resident Evil 7 because you get access to at least weaponry. It may be sparse across the level, but at least you have some type of you're armed to defend yourself rather than run around like a chicken with your head cut off hiding in closets. And that's the thing about Outlast. It it goes against all previous horror tropes where I'm gonna hide in this locker because the bad guys are dumb. They're not gonna check in here. No, they check in there. And hilarity and horror ensues right after the fact. So yeah, I'll stick with Outlast as the game that I'm just too much of to ever play.
That's a good one. That was good. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I do wish I could get into horror games in movies for that matter. Again, like it's not it has nothing to do with being scared. Like oh I don't like to be scared. It's just tension in media is just a lot of times too much for me, and it's it's I just can't do it. All right, so let's move on. Charlie, you're going to be first on this one. We got two more for today, and this one is the game that you've played the most. What is the game that you feel like you've put in the most time into in your life? Go.
So I'm going to say, let's say this will be the second official podcast that we're doing, the Gamescast, MC Gamescast.
Thank you for watching, everybody, hanging out in chat. You guys have been a really good chat this time.
Thank you so much.
Shout out to Racing Man Fan, who followed both of us today.
Nice.
Very, very nice guy. He's been real lively in the chat. Thanks a lot there, Racing Man Fan. Hopefully I've got your name correct.
Small streamer community. Thank you so much.
Hashtag small streamers. Yes, we're having a great time. All right, give me that game you most played.
And like I said, this is our second podcast. I'm going to try to squeeze this in somewhere. I love football. Mm-hmm. I love football a lot. I said before, this could easily have been Super Mario World. Mm-hmm. But the fact is that I played NCAA football 2004. Literally.
Oh yeah.
Season by season, to the point where in real life we have still yet to eclipse the end of my coach life. I think I ended in 2024 in that game. I won so many national championships. Nico, if you're still in there, I took, blue to the promised land finally, because Jim Harbaugh ain't doing it.
Bringing it back to sports.
But no, like, again, this was my college days, and I just transferred over to UNT, and obviously we didn't have a big football program. The only thing of note was me and Joe Green, but
Cody Spencer.
This was the game that I played. I love playing Madden. I played that a lot, but you could ask, my roommate at the time, Chris. Whenever he'd walk in, boy, he would just hear,
Lee
Hail
Corso
Victor,
and
Hail to the
Lee
Victor
Corso,
all
Kirk
the
Herb
time.
Street.
Huh?
Lee Corso and Kirk Herb Street.
Oh my gosh, I heard them like in my dreams practically, just recanting their normal cadences of like, oh, if they scored the most points, they're gonna win. And and again, I put a lot of hours into Final Fantasy X. That game just lends itself to a whole bunch of time being played. But again, the fact that we have not eclipsed my coach life yet, and we're in 2020.
Yeah.
I took multiple teams from. I mean, I took UNT to the promised land.
Mm-hmm.
I went through all the different conferences to the point where it just got like, okay, I'm done with this, to the point where when I got 2015, when I got 2005, I was just like, okay. And it took me a while to start playing that game again because I poured so much of my, I mean, I made you guys, I made all you
Oh
guys,
yeah,
all my friends in that
same.
game, customized all those players. They went to the NFL because I had the Madden game. I went and played those games with them as well. But that game was so much fun. It was so enjoyable. It's not the greatest football game of all time. It was just something that filled my life, to be honest.
Yeah, and so just to kind of jump off what you're saying, so Charlie, you know that I am a pro football NFL fan way more than I am of college football. College football's fine. I just, for whatever reason, I just, you know, I don't have my own school to kind of, latch on to. I like University of Texas, but I don't have an alma mater and all that stuff because I'm a college dropout. But I loved and continue to love the NCAA series way more than I ever did Madden. There was something about that game. In terms of how they both played, they kind of played about. I mean, they're both EA Sports games. They play about the same. But there was something about the modes in that game, becoming a recruit, going to whatever school either recruits you or you choose, and trying to win the Heisman Trophy and everything. I remember when that year I think this may have been like either 05 or 06 where they added the home field advantage thing where if you were on the road and the screen would shake during big moments, like stupid shit like that. NCAA football as a series, NCAA football to me might be the best sports series of all time. It's not the best, like you said. I don't think any of those are the best football games. I think that's 2K5, NFL 2K5.
Sure.
But as a series, I don't think there's any other series of sports games that I like that I have ever liked more. And the day that they bring back NCAA football, that's the year I'll start getting back into sports games, and I will buy it. I mean, almost sight unseen. I miss NCAA football so much. I love it. No, Josh, Super Tecmo Bowl is the second best football game of all time. You were very close. Also, Charlie, I just wanted to put this in here. Our newest follower here, Racing Man Fan, has let us know that the game that he has played the most is Rainbow Six Siege, and it's over 1,200 hours.
Jesus.
That's a lot of time. That's awesome. So, you got anything else on NCAA football?
How many days is that?
That's too many. Or not
That's
enough.
A lot.
Or not enough.
Yeah, that's true.
So
no, man. I mean, I think I've spoken my piece on
now. So
the game I played most.
It's so
What's
funny.
The game you've most.
So I had something else written down, and now I have to change it because you reminded me of one that I know that I've played more. I originally had Fortnite because I put so much time into Fortnite, but that's not the answer. The answer is Tiger Woods.
Oh yeah.
The circa 2005-2006 era Tiger Woods PGA Tour golf. And as much fun as we had with our Madden competitions that we had over the years, including one story we will eventually get to, the day that I finally slayed the dragon, which is one of my favorite things that's ever happened. Not necessarily the win, but the reaction. But Tiger Woods, I was over at your house almost every day for a long period of time. We all remember the Sonic Cup.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I took a Sonic.
I
took a Sonic Cup. I bought a cherry limeade, took it over there, finished it, left it on a table, and we got into this. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize this was a thing. but it stayed in the spot for many, many months, and they were trying to see if I ever recognized it and threw it away, and I never did, and they eventually threw it away.
It was there until we moved out.
It was, yeah. I don't think Tiger Woods was not the pizza throwing incident, Nick. That was a Mavericks playoff game.
That was Mavericks game 1,
yeah,
2006.
Yes, after Dirk made a dunk, he threw a piece of pizza.
Yep.
At the screen. It was great. But yeah, Tiger Woods, like I put so much time into those games. To the point to where I was getting 7 or 8 holes in one per round, and we were shooting 42s, and we would have these. That's where Welcome to the Land Down Under and Take a Bite Out of Crime, all these things that only you and I laugh at. Like I said, we probably played a ton of Madden.
So
we played.
You
know what's funny? We played a ton of Madden. We played a bunch of Tiger Woods. I don't remember us ever playing NCAA together. I don't remember that at all. No. I don't think we really did. But Tiger Woods, I guarantee you, Tiger Woods with me, you, Chris, and others that probably Matt was probably involved in this at this point. I don't think we had known Ryan, or I didn't know Ryan by then. But
no,
we would play so much. Yeah, that game, I miss it. It's that game and that series are obviously from a different time period, and we'll never get a golf game like that. Golf games nowadays are either over the top arcadey or they're super simulator.
Well, that's the game also that got me to really playing golf. I never played golf in my life.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing, is that we were playing that a lot, and that's how we kind of were like, hey, like I was like, I used to play golf all the time, and Chris was like, I want to play golf, and you were like, I want to play golf, and I think like Tiger Woods, I think, is actually the reason why we started really playing golf a lot. We played a ton back in the day. So that game is so good. I wonder if it holds up. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't care. But
it's a golf game. Like
the golf games these days maybe the
courses are prettier now, but it's still the same system, I would think.
Yeah, and like Ryan and I have been playing for the last
Tiger
year or
Vision.
So. Yeah, Tiger Vision. We've been playing the golf club. That game's fine. It's fun, but it's super simulator. It's not over the top. Like the new version that they're putting out this year that 2K's doing looks like it's very very much a simulator, and that's fine. But yeah, Tiger Woods, man, that I cannot think of another game that, aside from maybe Fortnite, maybe even Super Mario World, that come close. Final Fantasy VIII maybe, but yeah, I know Tiger Woods is actually the answer to that. So, all right. We got our final category today, and I will be taking the lead on this one. It is the gamer series that you regret never have played. And to me, this one, you could take it 2 ways. I took it as I've never touched the game, but you can also take it as you played it a little and maybe you fell off after an hour or so.
Good.
That's fine.
That's good.
I mean, if you played it like 7 hours and then fell off of it, that doesn't really count. But if you only played a little bit and then you regret stopping. But mine is a very obvious one, and it's a very recent one, and that is the 2018 arguably game of the year, God of War.
Oh, thank God you said that. So good.
I was completely out on God of War after God of War 2, 3, Ascension, all that bullshit. I liked God of War, the original God of War, a lot. But as it kind of went on, I was like, okay, you're not doing anything anymore. And then they kind of retired the series. Well, then they came back and they were like, we're doing a new God of War and it's going to be different. I'm like, we'll see about that. And I wrote it off. And I'll be damned if that sucker again. I don't know if that would have been my game of the year that year. I can't remember. There was what was that year? That was that Spider-Man, and then there was another one. Oh, Red Dead. That was a Red Dead
Redemption. Yeah.
It probably wouldn't top Red Dead for me, just because Red Dead is a top 10 game for me. But I feel like in these 2 weeks of the podcast, I have given you about 30 top 10 games. We're gonna have to do that list sometime. But, But yeah, I never got to it. I kind of fell off PlayStation for a while, and I Just I don't know. I just never got to it. Kind of the same with Spider-Man. I don't regret missing Spider-Man quite as much. I mean, Spider-Man is one of those games where it's no, I understand that, but God of War, the way people talk about it, the way you guys talk about it, the way that the media has talked about it, it sounds like one of those games. You know, we talked about the game that disappointed us. This sounds like one of those. Oh shit. This surprised me because you're like, oh, here comes another God of War game. Great, here comes like the sixth God of War game, and I
remember our reactions, man. We're like, really?
Yeah, even you, a big God of War fan, our friend Chris. You know, we were like, oh, another God of War. Why are we even doing this? And then here comes this game that, kind of not really comes out of nowhere. God of War can't come out of nowhere. Josh is trolling.
The play style, though,
Josh
was
Josh is trying to troll in the chat.
Completely, I mean, to be fair, there is. I mean, obviously, there are arguments whether Spider-Man or God of War is the better game. I'm not going to argue that or whatever, to each his own or whatever. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I'm in my Spider-Man room right now. I will still say that God of War is the better game. But, obviously each game has their own strengths, but the fact is they went in and reinvented the damn thing.
They made a
slasher,
game,
button masher,
right?
Quick time game to now something that so when I first started playing it, and I don't mean to step on.
You're the God of War guy. Go ahead, do what you got to do.
The idea of using the triggers and the bumpers, the top of the controller was like, I was like, oh, you just change out, obviously with the old trilogy, that was items that you would just change out your special, abilities or your power-ups and stuff. This one, that was where the main play was on your triggers.
Yeah, it was your attack and your skills and your different things that you unlock.
Yeah.
And well, what they did is they took a series that was about kind of linear hack and slash gameplay, which again, those early games are very good games. I'm not saying that those games aren't. I never played 3. It seems fine. But they completely reinvented not only the gameplay, they reinvented the style of the game, where it's this not necessarily open world, but branching paths in a fucking story. Because look, there's story in God of War, but I mean, nobody says, man, the story in the original God of War, fucking shit. Like,
I mean, it's definitely deeper than.
Yeah.
I mean, the first God of War was an angry mortal becoming a god. Then what happens?
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
one is a lot. I mean, this one is a lot deeper in regards to the fact that now he has this son. The way it opens up is just, it's a crazy crater with him, having a Viking funeral practically, and you're just like, what's going on here? Like, you're trying to understand, is there continuity from that trilogy into this? What is going on? This dude shows up, wants to kick your ass out of nowhere, and you just hit the ground running. But it's like you were saying, like, while those God of War games, I felt the story, I liked the story. I love Greek mythology. It kind of, it brought it to light, certain characters. Obviously, they had to hyperbolize a lot of stuff. But the Norse god world is so just, I don't want to say it's kind of in the background, but at least my experience, there was a lot that I did not know about other than Thor. And to hash it out in a world so beautiful. I mean, this game is, remember, we had walks where we would have arguments over which game looked better, Red Dead or this one. Yeah. I mean, you're comparing the Old West to a mythological landscape to fucking New York City. And so if you want to put those, like, it's apples, oranges, and peaches or whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah, like, again, not to step on, this is your category, this is your choice right here. But, hearing to say that you regret never playing the game, I really wish, like, you had the time, because that game is so great.
Right, yeah, and I just realized I was on mute there for a second and said a whole, like, 2 sentences. Oh, well, forget it. It's fine. I knew it was going to happen. It was going to happen. But anyway, yeah, we've said this a couple times already on the first couple podcasts. We're limited in what we can play, and my game that year to play was Red Dead. And I don't regret that. Obviously, I don't regret that decision. I think Red Dead is just a fantastic game. But yeah, I wish I had more time then, and I wish I would have made time. And I'm going to still do that. I mean, the game is 2 years old, so it's not like oh, I didn't play that game back way Saints Row the Third, if we want to go there. Some of the things like that. Saints Row the Third could have been on this one, but anyway. But yeah, it's a game that I have very few regrets in terms of games, and that one is definitely number one, and I will get to it one day. Charlie, send us off. What's your regret?
So, I'm glad that you kind of stipulated that it's not just a game that you never played. It may be a game that you just started. This may be not just the game, this may be the entire series that I'm referring to, but for the sake of this argument, I did put probably one of the mecca of games that everyone in gamingdom had been telling me to play. And I didn't have a PC at the time, so I really, really never played it, but it is Half-Life 2.
There you go. Yeah.
I started playing that game after several people told me to start, to play this thing, because it's like, it'll change your life kind of game. I didn't stop at Ravenholm. Let's not go there. I will play scary games. I trudged my way through it. That place was scary as shit.
I actually made it through that there. Too. Like, yeah, it's not. Yeah. It's just it's a little tense, but it's not that bad.
I understood. Like, I was like, oh, head crabs, da 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 da. But then I just fell off of it. Mm-hmm. And obviously, time comes along, other games come along, other interests come along, etc.
Yeah.
And that really, like, Half-Life 2 obviously is the game, or Half-Life or whatever, but that entire series may be an egregious marker on my ledger regarding games that I have missed. Mm-hmm. I try to do my due diligence, like if there are Game of the Year contendees or contenders or whatever, I'll look back and I'm like, okay, I'm going to prioritize these because there must be something in them that I should be playing.
Sure.
Papers, Please, Oxenfree, Cuphead, for example.
Rogue Legacy.
Stuff like that. Rogue Legacy. Gone Home. Games that, like, from people in the media who I look up to, and I see that their interests are in line with my own. I'm like, okay, they must see something in this. They must enjoy it as well. Kerbal Space Program. Come on. Great game. But this game, like, as it ages, I just have this, unlike God of War, I have this underlying fear that this is just going to be one that I'm just never ever going to.
Yeah, and the problem with that is that
backtrack to.
Because God of War 2018, again, like I said, it's only 2 years old. Not even two. It's not even 2 years old at this point. I think it was September of that year. So, Half-Life and Half-Life 2. Those games are 20 plus years old, and to be honest, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Like I fell off of the original Half-Life very quickly. I kind of was not a first-person shooter guy back then, especially narrative first-person shooter. I got really into Counter-Strike. I played the shit out of Counter-Strike. But Half-Life 2 was kind of the same thing. I got through Ravenholm, and then just, I don't know, like, and it's not because the game, I thought was like, this game's not that good. For that time, it's incredible. And why are they not making Half-Life games anymore? I don't get it. It makes no sense to me.
It's called Steam.
Yeah, Valve makes all their money off Steam. But yeah, it is definitely a blind spot for me. It's I don't know many people that are like, man, Half-Life sucks. Like, nobody says that.
Yeah.
People may be like,
Nope.
it's not for me. But
Sure.
I'm with you. That's a real good one.
Yeah.
It's a real good one.
And like the more time goes, like it's available on Steam. You can buy entire packages of it as well. But
the fucking orange box. You remember the orange box? Guess what? Portal. That's the only thing I really played hardcore out of it. And you know what? That's great. Portal's great.
I've played both Portals and they were awesome. But regarding Half-Life, I've just never gone back to. And again, it's available on Steam. I know I have the time, but with all these shiny new baubles coming out, PS5 coming out, Xbox Series X is coming out, it's more and more stuff on the pile that I would just like, unfortunately, want to play versus Half-Life, and it's just going to be lost. Like, it stands the test of time. I've seen it, it still looks, a little rough. It's got some rough edges.
Well,
but
they just released that that mod for the original Half-Life that basically that full remake of it, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah. But yeah, that's, Half-Life 2 and Half-Life and Half-Life the series are pretty much my game or series that I regret never playing.
Yeah, that's a real good one. Real good answers tonight. This was fun. I like this a lot more than the negative stuff from last week. We got all the negative. Definitely. But next week, folks, we're going to get into the big categories. We're going to get into our favorite games and our favorite guilty pleasure games and things like that. It's going to be great. So you'll want to tune in next week for that. But now that we are done with the topic of the week, it's time to get you guys involved. It's time for the mailbag. If you've got any questions that you would like to send to us, you can send it to us on Twitter at Charzar81 or at Team Llama Games. Or at the MC Gamescast at gmail.com. Charlie, why don't you go ahead and start off? Actually, let me say this. If you are sitting in chat and you have a question that you want to submit for today's mailbag, pop it in the chat. It could be about games. It could be about really anything. Food, anything goofy. And we may get to it. But Charlie, why don't you go ahead and get us started off with the first question.
This one's from our good friend Nico.
Nico.
Which state do you hate the most, and why is it Ohio? Mitch, you have family there, so
it's not Ohio. Ohio is, it's fine. I think Nico says Ohio because he's from Michigan. But that's okay.
State up there.
The worst state is obviously Florida. It's Florida.
I think Wyoming may have something to say about that.
Yeah, but Wyoming's
it's just
beautiful.
A big old square and nothing.
Whatever. Whatever. All right.
Go back to our Red Dead arguments. It's just a big old patch of land full of nothing.
Yeah, Mean Green in the chat says it perfectly. Florida is America's Wang.
And it's kind of hanging low right now, isn't it?
Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Oh, yep. That's pretty awesome. All right, let's get to let's see here. Let's go ahead and say we got a video game question here. This one is from Josh. Who would win in a fight? The Samurai Showdown lineup or the lineup from Clay Fighter? So basically, which roster is a better roster of characters?
Look, the Samurai Showdown fighters are second to none regarding their skill, regarding their knowledge of all the martial arts, but it's Clay. You cannot defeat And with Ichabod Clay at the helm, the Blob at the helm, they are unassailable. They can barely beat themselves, much less, some mortal fighters from Samurai Showdown. Mm-hmm. The Blob can turn himself into a circular saw and just destroy everything.
I mean, you're not wrong. But what about the part where Clay Fighters is the worst fighting game of all time?
Oh my god.
Dude, Clay Fighters sucks. Sucks. Awful.
It's because you don't know how to play it.
Oh, you're right. Hey, I made it to regionals at the Blockbuster video game tournament because of Clay Fighter. Thank you.
It's probably like Battletoads. You don't know how to play it, so it sucks.
No, that's because Battletoads sucks too. No, it's Samurai Showdown. Samurai Showdown, fantastic game. Clay Fighter, trash. So we're going to continue the fighting game theme here. Josh also says Primal Rage Fighters versus Killer Instinct. And it's Killer Instinct. It's Killer Instinct. It's not even close.
Do you remember the size of those dinosaurs? You remember the little?
No, I remember
the little cavemen at the bottom. That's what I imagine those little Killer Instinct characters are going to be. Those little men like running back and forth, and then you got the farting King Kong guy just decimating everyone.
And I do
flatulence.
I do like farts too.
I mean, what's Orc going to do? Her boobs aren't going to do anything against that. T-Rex will just eat her all up.
Oh man,
and not the fun way either.
Yeah, it's Killer Instinct, very good game. It's a great game. I'm not too familiar with Primal Rage. I played a little bit of it.
I love Killer Instinct. The character there's are ridiculous. Glacier, Cinder, Orchid, Jago. They're all really, really good characters. But
yeah.
Dinosaurs.
You know what? I will give you that. I'll give you that one. I won't give you Clay Fighter though. Fuck Clay Fighter. All right. Let's move on here. We've got from Frogman, who's in the chat, your favorite LucasArts adventure game.
So I mentioned that in the chat last night that Sam & Max was definitely my favorite game from the LucasArts adventure game. Mm-hmm. The writing was great. The comedy was great. The characters were awesome. I never really got into any of the Monkey Island series just because it was slower. There was a lot of reading to do. But yeah, Sam & Max. I do like Grim Fandango. I don't know. I think that's eligible for this.
I don't know. Keep talking. I'll look it up.
But and I know there were some Indiana Jones games that were obviously part of this. I mean, it's a Lucas property, but
Frogman says that is a LucasArts game.
Yeah, Grim Fandango is.
Yes, it's a
great
good
game.
I mean, mine it may be cliche, but I mean, Monkey Island. I like Monkey Island's great.
Sure.
The humor is great. That remaster they did a couple years ago is really good. Like you can toggle between the new graphics and the old graphics, which when you look at the old graphics now, it's rough, but it is fun to look back. That it's fantastic. Like it still holds up today. Even though that kind of adventure game, that type of adventure game is not really big anymore. Monkey Island's great. It's great. Let's see here. All right, from Ryan, who is putting some questions in the chat that I'm not going to ask because it's a joke for one. He's doing George DiGianni jokes. Damn it, Ryan.
What about eggs?
Yeah, what about eggs? Why do we crap your pants? But Ryan had a couple of good ones. The best and worst movies that are based on video games. I'll go ahead and start. The best one is Mortal Kombat. The worst is Super Mario.
Kombat 2.
Super Mario Brothers is the worst video game movie.
That's
and
pretty,
I thought this might be a good time to kind of talk about video game movies. Most of them are garbage dumpster fires. But Mortal Kombat, that first Mortal Kombat movie is good. And that Prince of Persia, Jake Gyllenhaal movie from, what was it, probably 10 years ago? Not bad. Like, it's fine. It's a decent movie. No, Josh, Street Fighter is a fucking awful movie. In fact, you know what? In fact, you know what? You know, I take it back. Super Mario Brothers is not the worst. Super Mario Brothers is not the worst game movie.
Man.
It's Street Fighter. That movie.
Raul Julia in it.
Oh, shut up! It sucks. Anyway, do you got any different answers for that one, Charlie? Or are we pretty much in agreement?
The best game is Street Fighter. So this is the best movie based on video games. I'm gonna kind of cheat on this because you know what my favorite movie based on video games is, and that's Ready Player One.
Yeah,
I've seen that movie.
That doesn't count.
Over 30 times.
Also, on the same token, Pixels doesn't count as the worst video game movie. No, this is actual adaptations of video games.
I love Tomb Raider, man.
Tomb Raider's,
I know a lot of
Raider's
people
fine.
didn't like it.
Like, those Resident Evil movies are watchable, I guess. Yeah. They're fine. Wreck-It Ralph doesn't
honestly,
count.
And I love the Silent Hill movies.
Yeah, you know I wouldn't have ever gotten to those.
Yeah, those were pretty good. And oh gosh, and I guess a movie based on it. Oh yeah, I'd hate to throw a rock under the bus, but man, Doom could have been a lot better.
It could,
and I like it because it's bad.
Oh god, Doom.
Oh god. No. Can I take that back? And what was that game? The fighting game.
Dead or Alive?
Yes, Dead or Alive.
Oh, fucking terrible. Yeah, terrible. They made a Chun-Li video. They made a Chun-Li Street Fighter movie too.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Legend of Chun-Li.
So going with that same theme, we're gonna go the other way around. Best and worst games that are based on movies. And to me, the answer to that is there's pretty much no such thing as a good game based on a movie. I just like most. I don't know. No, Ryan, that's not a good game. Enter the Matrix is not a good game.
Does Lord of the Rings: Shadow of Mordor count?
I don't know, because that's it's not based on the movies. It's based on the books. It's based on books. I don't know. Yeah.
The worst one would have to be Batman and Batman Forever.
Yeah, those are bad. Those are bad. I mean, we haven't played R.I.P.D. We haven't played that shit. I know what the best one is. Die Hard Trilogy. Die Hard Trilogy is great.
I've never played those.
There's just adaptations of movies just never.
I'll say this: I know a lot of people never play this movie play this game because the movie was not very great. But the Wolverine game on the 360 is one of the best Wolverine games.
Also fucking brutal too.
It is brutal.
It's great.
It's so visceral in a way that Wolverine should be.
Yeah,
that game is great.
No, that's cool. That's a good one too. Okay, we got one more. Unless the chat's got any actual good any other questions. This one also. X-Men Legends is good. X-Men the arcade game is great. So okay, last one here, unless we get a good one. This also from Ryan. This is a game that you have played or play now that you feel like that you should play. Like you're just like, why do I play this dumb game? But you still play it. You got one?
Gosh. I want to say Cuphead. Not really. Games I play a lot, but I feel I shouldn't have played. God, I want to say so I play this game on my phone. It's called Marvel Strike Force.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those RPG games. I've been in and out of that sucker. I mean, I've got a buddy at work that he pulled me into his squad, and I've got so many characters now. I mean, but it is just like, it's gotten to a point where now I'm literally just auto fighting through everything, and I feel bad. Like, it's almost like I'd betray him if I decide that I was out on this. And it's literally like something I'm like, if I wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, I've got 15 minutes, let me just do my due diligence, let me do all my daily items or whatever, and just get through this slog of a game. And I'm honestly got to the point where I just don't enjoy it. I'd like to move on to like bigger and better things. And just
sure, I feel like you could say that about 98% of the iOS games we play.
Yeah.
By the way, Charlie, Golf Clash. Fuck that game.
Golf Clash.
By the way,
oh, you love that
Charlie,
game.
Josh is trolling the shit out of you in chat. He's giving you shit about Lego Harry Potter.
Oh, whatever.
But anyway,
the answer is Bloodsport.
Right, it is Bloodsport. Yeah, Golf Clash was a fun time waste, but it was a time waste. Okay, so for me, the answer to this question is it's a game that I currently play every now and then, but I don't know why I still play it, and that is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. And so the reason for that is, so
it's a highly touted game.
That game has been out, and this is kind of specific to the console version just because that's the one I play. That game has been out for 3 years, I think, on the console, on Xbox, and PS4. But that's where I played, is on Xbox. It still plays like fucking shit.
But you keep coming back.
Sucks so bad. Oh my god. It plays like crap. It looks like shit. It runs like shit. But I can't stop playing it. I love it so much. I don't know. There's something about the tension in that game that gets me. Like, but man, everything about it is garbage. You know what, Josh? You're right. I almost would rather play H1. Almost. H1 is fucking garbage too. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about that game. It sucks. Every time I play it, I'm like, why am I playing this? And then when I get a chicken dinner in that game, I'm like, man, I fucking love this game. And I don't. Oh, Josh, get out of here with that shit. That mobile version sucks. That mobile version is terrible.
It's the bad girlfriend or bad boyfriend that you can't quit.
Yes. For Ryan, it's the bad boyfriend.
I will quit you.
But yeah, oh god, I don't know what. And you know what? I sit there and I'm just talking shit about PUBG. I guarantee you, this week I'm probably gonna play PUBG. I'm just going to. I don't know what it is, man.
Just a random stop.
Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. But yeah, let's see. All right, Frogman, have a good one. So yeah, so that's gonna do it for the mailbag. And so now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for our feature of the week, because we love features. I don't know what that means. But
our final feature of the week?
Our final segment of the week is what I meant to say. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the MC Gamescast Scattershooting. And now it's time for MC Gamescast Scattershooting with your host, Mitchell Barrett and Charlie Zarzuela, right here on the MC Gamescast. Thanks a lot, announcer. And ladies and gentlemen, with this week's Scattershooting, here he is, Charlie Zarzuela.
Yes, this is Charlie Zarzuela. Wondering whatever happened to Lance Guest. Do you know who that is?
I don't.
So he is known for his prominent roles as Jimmy in Halloween 2 and Michael Brody in Jaws. Revenge, sorry. He was also recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier in The Last Starfighter.
Oh.
Starring as Alex Rogan and Beta, his replacement robot.
Okay.
In the movie, there was a game, Starfighter, that represented a real-life conflict between Ryland's Star League and the Kodan Empire. This movie and Tron were the first to use extensive CGI, and boy did it show that it was the first. In the end credits, Atari had promised a real The Last Starfighter game that was coming out to the arcades. However, it was never released. Atari reps saw the film in post and abandoned the project because it felt it would not be financially successful. Not surprising.
Okay.
So this brings to mind other video game movie references. There are several easy ones. Top of mind, Terminator 2's John Connor hacking at ATM machine to fund his arcade romps through Missile Command and Afterburner. There's Grandma's Boy, a sorely underrated comedy.
Hell yeah.
Breaks Dance Dance Revolution. Is it broken? Is it broken? Or even bigger, with movies like Wizard, Scott Pilgrim, and Ready Player One being completely meta on the video games industry. But the reason I bring this up is because of the old tried and true Nintendo Power Glove. The sad Nintendo accessory can be found in more forms of media than the dollars I think it made Nintendo. The Power Glove is featured going back to the aforementioned Wizard, the 80s going into the 90s, Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. It was in the first Beethoven movie. Yeah. It was in the first Beethoven movie, and it appears in more recent items like Kung Fury, greatness, ABC's The Goldbergs, and in Ash vs. Evil Dead, where it is repurposed as Ash's prosthetic hand. For an accessory with horrible sensor capture, playability, and video game synthesis, and one that has discontinued after just 12 months, Hollywood continues to ensure this piece of crap has a long shelf life.
Excellent.
So, can you name the console with the longest lifespan?
Is it the DS?
Not on the list. So this is according to a Japanese blog measuring life from initial release to the final new release for that console.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Which we have a mixed bag of oldies and goodies. I'm going to kind of go through the list really, really quick. We got the Dreamcast at 8 years and 103 days. We got the Wii at 8 years and 151 days. The PS1, which, by the way, all the PlayStations are on here, save the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 1 is 9 years, 164 days. The 360, the only Xbox on here, was 9 years, 345 days. You had the Super Famicom, the NEC PC Engine with CD-ROM, the Famicom, and then you have the top three. You had the PS3 at 11 years, 324 days. Can you guess one of the last two?
Man, I guess this must be console. Does it? It doesn't count handheld, does it?
No handhelds on.
Okay, so that's yeah. Well, let's see. Probably. Oh man, I wouldn't even know.
So coming runner-up, surprisingly, is the PS2 with 13 years, 26 days.
Yeah.
And the number one, which I was surprised to see this, was the Neo Geo. 14 years, 169 days, debuted in 1990. The SNK business had made original carts for this antiquated system up until the year 2004.
And they were still $700 a piece.
Yeah. And for the last piece, Toad was sitting in the bar looking sad. The bartender asks, "Why so glum?" "Oh, I got fired for telling a joke at the fruit festival." "What's the joke?" asked the bartender. "What's white and smells like a peach?" "I don't know." "Mario's glove."
Oh, okay, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for hanging out with Mitchell Barron and Charlie Zarzuela for MC Gamescast Scattershooting. We'll see you next Tuesday right here on the MC Gamescast. Oh my goodness, that was fantastic, Charlie. I enjoyed that a lot. That was real good. Nice work, my friend.
Thank you.
When that, folks, is going to bring us to the end of episode 2 of the MC Gamescast. Thanks to everybody that came and hung out and hung out in the chat. We had some really good crowds tonight. We got a couple new followers tonight. Thank you so much to all those people. Thank you to the usuals, Josh, Ryan, Nick, Frogman. We appreciate it very much. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We will get this up on the YouTube tomorrow and the podcast services tomorrow. And check us out, twitch.tv/Charzar81. He'll be back Thursday with a little bit of that Walking Dead. And twitch.tv/Team Llama Squad. I will be back tomorrow with something. I don't know what it'll be.
Little Rocksmith,
Yeah, I think I may play some
Fortnite.
Rocksmith. Yeah, a little Rocksmith and
Rocket League.
Yeah, who knows, man. We're doing great. We're having a good time. We are building, and this is a big part of it. The MC Gamescast. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Charlie Zarzuela, this is Mitchell Barron. Y'all have a great night.